Good morning, this is Listen to VOA, Japanese English listening material site with transcript. Visiting Yasukuni Shrine also says that Korea hates it and says no. This shrine is a symbol of Japanese militarism. 200,000 innocent citizens were killed in the Nanjing Massacre, so you shouldn't go there because China hates you to visit. But their stories are red lies. Koreans were doing business in brothels owned by Koreans near the army bases. The more I looked at the story of Nanjing, the more I was convinced that it was a lie. More than that, South Korea made terrible things in Vietnam. A local woman and the child between them was called Lai Dai Han. Korea business people still now have similar problems in Vietnam. They treat them like slaves. Nanjing is the story of the Chinese government recreating several incidents that the Chinese military did as a bandit. They are doing much worse for Uighurs and Tibetans than you can imagine, while persistently blaming the fake stories of the Japanese army during the war for more than 70 years. They put in the concentration camps in millions and deprive organs from living humans like the parts for factory, whether they oppose or not. The Japanese, on the other hand, said WGIP. The Japanese army in which our father-in-law, grandfather, and uncle participated was bad. I'm sorry, I believe as it is said, you're stupid. But did you just watch these dozens of girls? Your daughters being taken by truck without doing anything for them? You Koreans, I heard that there was no truck. That disciplined Japanese army that our grandfathers and uncles belonged as soldiers can't do such cruel things that China has said. Well, there might be one or two psychopaths among the many soldiers, but in the group there's no way to do the cruel things you hear. Not recorded in military court records. Grandfather, father-in-law, uncle, and other Japanese soldiers can be trusted. I can't believe what the CCP government and the Korean government say. I can imagine from what they're doing now. What GHQ'd it is not just WGIP. Censorship. An expulsion of former workers from public offices replaced communists in schools, universities, government offices, and media companies. Because of the annexation of Korea, many Koreans were in Japan and came. Annexing, for example, is a treatment of Japan as a region, just like the Tohoku region. So we invested a lot of taxes. After all, it's one area of Japan. This is very different from the colonial policies of European countries in East Asia. In the case of Japan, Army helped to create a country that considered the stability of local people and their happiness. It is beyond the imagination of other countries' people. Army also helped the country become independent. From France, England, and the Netherlands to Vietnam, Indonesia, and Sri Lanka. It helped directly and indirectly from white colonial rule. In Taiwan and Pacific Island nations it has also worked to develop and made infrastructure. In some countries like Palau, even today, they use parentheses of different colors. The Japanese should be confident and resolute in dealing with Korea and China, worshipping Yasukuni, and thanking our ancestors without being bothered by the Korean or Chinese Communist Party. Sometimes you have a willingness to fight in order to create your own constitution and protect your families. The United States feared Japan's strength. U.S. bombed Tokyo and dropped atomic bombs on Hiroshima and Nagasaki, involving civilians and killing several hundred thousand. It is an unthinkable nation that honors human rights. So, at the WGIP, U.S. tried to make us think, if you grudge, please grudge your own imperial soldiers because they're bad. Never grudge the United States, and the United States will invite the Chinese Communist Party in Korea to make a fuss about Japan's fake wrongdoing they made to Japan. America will let a Korean named Lee Sung-yin, who lived in the United States, and Mao Zedong establish a communist party in China. With the teachings of the Soviet Union and the large amount of ODA aid from the United States and Japan, the communist China grows into a cruel giant power. It seems that only Japanese politicians are not aware of the cruelty, or they don't want to notice. Chiang Kai-shek of the Republic of China fought by the Chinese-occupied Taiwan, which was left by the Japanese army, followed by martial law for decades, and stayed there until his death. So China claims that Taiwan is also its own country. We dropped the atomic bomb because we don't want to kill anymore because the Japanese army doesn't surrender, said the United States. It seems that there are various evidence documents that it is not so. Here, roughly. After the war, the United States made a lot of aid to Japan, both in food and money, like to compensate for the crimes. Thanks to that, Japan has recovered economically. That's all. Thank you. Listen to VOA.